Let's talk about tonight. I want to get
Yes.
college football playoff action in. We've got the Natty tonight. You know me, I don't really handicap college football, which is why I got to bring on the pros, the people that do know a lot about the sport. How come you're so high on Miami tonight?
I think Kurt Cignetti, I think just naturally, we love a good story. And Kurt Cignetti in Indiana, with the way they've won the last couple of weeks, they've kind of brainwashed us a little bit from deviating from what's always been true in college football, that talent matters so much more than coaching. This is why Bill Belichick is one of the greatest coaches in NFL history, but at North Carolina this past year went 4-8. Because it turns out if you don't have talent, it doesn't matter how good of a coach you are. Kurt Cignetti is kind of the way that Indiana's winning. It's making us think differently about these things because with a lot of players who came from the group of five, you're talking about 9 players on this roster who are 2 stars or fewer, while Miami has 9 4 or 5 star players. You talk about 2 5 stars on Miami, no 5 stars on Indiana. There's no question that Miami is the more talented team. And because of the way that Indiana has worked Alabama and Oregon, 2 incredibly flawed teams the last few weeks, you have a heavy public side in Indiana. I don't know if it's because they are such a great story and we want to believe in it, or the fact that they're have the largest alumni base in America with 800,000 alums. But they were at 8.5-point favorite. That number is going down to 7.5 in some places. Don't think it's going to get to 7, but I think a lot of odds makers or a lot of money today is starting to come in on the Hurricanes because people are starting to realize, wait a minute, if this game's going to be decided in the trenches, Miami has easily a better offensive line, and Miami might be the best defensive front that Indiana's faced all year with 2 guys who might be first-round draft picks, including one that might be the first edge off the board in Ruben Bain, that could give the Heisman Trophy winner and presumptive number 1 pick Fernando Mendoza a lot of problems tonight.
So you trust Carson Beck?
It's a difficult question because
because every handicapper I speak to says, I just don't trust. No, I shouldn't say every. A lot of them. A lot of people start with, well, I don't trust Carson Beck. So now I'm like, okay, Josh, why are you okay with kind of backing him?
Because Indiana's base defense is in its own right exotic because they don't have the talent of a lot of the teams they play. It's such a commitment to system. They have to do so much stunting. They have to do so much exotic stuff, so much changing at the line of scrimmage, so many changing of picture post snap. That's the way they've gotten a lot of quarterbacks who are inexperienced. And Carson Beck's been really good during the playoff. And the fact that he's an inexperienced quarterback, I like his chances, especially given he's top 10 in college football and getting the ball out, that it's not going to be sheer pressure that he has issues with. It's going to be how he reads a defense and what he reads pre-snap. And when Carson Beck has had issues this year, it's when Louisville's gotten in his face and SMU's gotten in his face and protection's been a problem. I don't think protection is going to be the issue. If Carson Beck loses this game for Miami, it's going to be because he's read things wrong. And given the fact he is so experienced, I'm less concerned about a quarterback making an improper read versus if the issue were his line being overwhelmed by so much pressure due to a talent disparity, which is not the case in this game.
We love some props. We'll go game prop first. First half under 23.5. How come defenses come out strong in the first half? Or is this that it might be messy in the first half offensively?
I think Indiana is going to have some issues with Miami. I think Miami's going to be without one of their starting corners for the first half of this game, Xavier Lucas, who got a targeting call in the second half of the semifinal. So this is something to keep an eye on Indiana's first series, whether or not their nickel is being used for coverage or being used to blitz. And I have a feeling that Miami's going to try to light up Fernando Mendoza, try to heat him up a little bit. And I think Indiana is going to have to adjust their tackles to this type of pressure they face. We do have a common opponent between the two, and that's Ohio State. And that was a slugfest for Indiana's offense. They didn't score a lot. I think they won that game 20-13, and some of that scoring came towards the end of the game. So I think from Indiana's end, there's going to be an adjustment period to this Miami offense. And from Miami's perspective, a lot of their scoring has been methodical. It's 10, it's 11 play drives. And I could see, especially missing a corner on defense, them trying to do everything they can to limit the amount of time Fernando Mendoza's on the field. So much so, I wouldn't be shocked if Miami wins the toss, if they decide to receive it, just so they could try to have one of these methodical scripted drives and limit the amount of time they're without one of their starting corners. So for a couple of those reasons, Miami's incentivized to slow things down in the first half, and Indiana's tackles are going to have an adjustment period against Miami's front. So I think 23.5. I would have loved it if it was 24, but 23.5 I still think is a good number.
How much does that handicap have to do with the CJ Daniels play over his longest reception?
Oh, I love CJ Daniels. This is the one guy that Miami, if you watch him play, they take shots to on the perimeter. So if they scheme up one of those bombs down the sideline, it's going to be to 7. And he's had electric plays throughout the year. They generally go to Tony on the bubble screens or underneath. But I have a feeling one of the best corners in football is Ponce for Indiana. He's the one that jumped that pick six, the first play of the game against Oregon in the semifinal. He's very aggressive. And I wouldn't be surprised, maybe calling my shot here a little bit, if on the first series you script something that's a double move trying to get Ponce to jump at something, and then maybe a deep shot to Daniels down the sideline for a big play. They've also used him on crossers, on some crossers. And like we talked about with the exotic blitzes that Indiana likes to send, and they have to send extra guys with blitzes when they can't get there. If you catch one of these crossers while they're blitzing, a great opportunity for yards after catch as well. So I just thought that was too small of a number, since Tony's number is a little bit higher, and the fact that Daniels is used as a little bit more of a downfield threat.
This Carson Beck under 1.5 rushing yards, it's a little scary because all he has to do is make one nice little scramble. This goes over. So how come you're willing to take that risk?
I feel bad giving it because
I've done it before.
I've got it at -130, and it's kind of, I think people have kind of gotten onto it. Yesterday, I think I saw it was at -160. So I don't even mind. It's something that you might want to throw into a parlay if you want to kind of elevate it. Because in college, they kind of take advantage of the NFL betting public that doesn't realize that in college, sacks count against your rushing total. So he's been under that number 8 of 15 games this year. I think that he's going to be trying to get the ball out quick. Indiana might still get there a few times to him to keep that number under, but it's a little bit of a sucker bet to put it there. And Carson Beck had the rushing touchdown that was key against Ole Miss. So we're just going to fade that and understanding where some of the numbers tell us this is likely going to end up.
I love when Jessica comes in. She hasn't been here in a while, so welcome back, Jessica. She always gives us a lot of the best numbers that you could get in the market while we're live. Jessica will tell you, like, first half, you get the under 23.5 -106. CJ Daniels, you get at Hard Rock over 16.5 for the longest.
16.
Reception.
Let's go.
-110. So if you want good numbers, check it out. Jessica's always helpful in making sure we get the best number. She is like an absolute, just like fiend, going through all the prop boards and seeing all the best numbers that we could possibly get. So you do believe, like, you're willing to take Miami money line today. You think they win outright. I know this game is down there in Miami. It helps a little bit, despite the fact that the tickets are still like what, $3,500 to get in the building. I mean, I guess final thoughts as to why you do believe not only that they cover, but that Miami upsets this Indiana team that people are saying is one of the best in history.
They would be if they win, and they're 16-0, and they'd have to earn it. But again, I think it's such an inflated view of what Indiana actually is, where Alabama probably shouldn't have been in the playoff. When they got whacked the way they did in the conference championship, the gripe that Notre Dame fans had wasn't that they should have been in over Miami. They lost a head-to-head to Miami after all. It's that they should have been in over Alabama, and Alabama never really looked the part in the playoff, even as they won against Oklahoma. And then Oregon, the fact they won 23-0 against Texas Tech, if you watch the game, Oregon wasn't all that impressive. That's more about Texas Tech and the conference they come from, not ever really being all that competitive from a conference championship standpoint. So really the measuring stick you have to look at for Indiana was, all right, how did they fare against Ohio State? And that was an incredibly close game. Miami has the common opponent, and Miami was more impressive against Ohio State, honestly, than Indiana was against Ohio State. I think that matters. I buy that games are won in the trenches, and I think Miami's better on the offensive and defensive line of these games. And I believe talent wins in college football. And I think Miami has more talent than Indiana does. And I'll say one more thing why this factors into the numbers that we're seeing. Curt Cignetti, I think a big part of the reason people buy so much of a coaching edge in this game is, yes, about what Cignetti has done, which is incredible, but it's also Mario Cristobal slander as well. Mario Cristobal has earned the reputation of not delivering at Miami in past years because he's lost games that he was supposed to win. The Georgia Tech game last year, just game management malpractice, and no one's saying otherwise. You lose to Louisville, you lose to SMU. But the knock on Cristobal shouldn't be that when he's playing top-tier competition, because go and look at his resume. 2023, you beat Clemson and A&M. 24, you opened the year with Cam Ward's coming out party by crushing Florida and hanging 40 on the road. And this year, you beat Notre Dame. You're 7-0 against ranked teams. And the other thing's this, with the number being 8.5 and going down to 7.5 in some places. The last time Mario Cristobal lost a game by more than that number, you have to go back to November of 2023. His last 8 losses with Miami have all been by one score. So the guy never gets worked. His team delivers when they play in the big games. And again, I think this is about reputation, because when you cut away the reputational ties to this, go with the talent, and the talent is with Miami.
When Ray Lewis is probably on the field, getting that Miami team all hyped up, I would want to go win a natty too. It would be incredible, though, if Indiana finds a way to be one of the best teams in college football history. No one would have seen it coming. Josh Graham, you always see a lot of these crazy things coming, though, in the world of sports over at Westwood One. Tell everyone where they can find you and what time your show is.
At Josh Graham Show. You can find me on X and on Instagram. Just started this venture, Westwood One Sports, with the likes of Jim Rome and Drake Toll and others. I'm on from 11 p to 3 a on the East Coast, 8 p.m. to midnight on the West Coast, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday during the week. So I'm on the weekends as well, Saturday, Sunday from 4 to 7 p.m. So make sure to find me and engage. We're on all the way across the country. Also, I think on Sirius 375, you can find the show as well.